We've been taught that lag is this angle between our lead wrist and our shaft, and maybe our wrist and our shaft, and getting to the top and creating a lot of that lag or that wrist hinge, and then trying to keep it as long as we can. The problem is when I do that, my lead wrist moves into extension, right? So when I take my grip, if I put my lead wrist into extension, my club face is wide open. If you're somebody who flips, if you're somebody who can't deliver shaft lean, your impact position looks more like this. We have a cupped lead wrist, and our handle is sitting kind of vertical or even behind the golf ball at impact. This video is exactly for you. And we're going to talk about how you can improve that, why it happens, and some things that you can look for from a data perspective if you're fortunate enough to use a launch monitor or simulators to be able to practice. So, flipping. I think the biggest thing is it's a compensation, right? So we just got to understand why it happens. So I'm going to talk about, to me, the number one thing as to why, and it's we've all worked so long at creating lag, and we've been taught that lag is this angle between our lead wrist and our shaft, and maybe our wrist and our shaft, and getting to the top and creating a lot of that lag or that wrist hinge, and then trying to keep it as long as we can. The problem is when I do that, my lead wrist moves into extension, right? So when I take my grip, if I put my lead wrist into extension, my club face is wide open. So if I have an open club face coming down and I move into a good impact position, that golf ball is going to go way out to the right. So what I thought we could do is I'm going to hit a shot and I'm going to work really hard at creating a lot of wrist set. And I'm going to work really hard at trying to keep that wrist set as long as I can. And let's see what those numbers start to look like. And that's what I see a lot in golfers is a shot that peels off to the right. And then we might find some compensatory moves where you come a little bit over the top and swing more to the left to get that golf ball to finish at our target line. But some things I want us to pay attention to here as we look at this is I had a spin axis of 12.6 degrees to the right. So the spin axis is basically the golf ball is spinning on an axis. And as I tilt the axis, similar to airplane wings, that ball's going to curve relative to that axis tilt. I had a face to the target that's 8.8 open. So me creating a lot of that wrist set had the club face get open. We saw that in the data. And then I had loft on the golf club that was 26.9 degrees or 27 degrees. For reference, I'm hitting a 7-iron here, and I'm hitting a Callaway Apex TCB 7-iron, which has about 33 degrees of static loft on it, right? So when I pick it up on the shelf, it has about 33 degrees of loft. I'm trying to de-loft this golf club. Depending on speed, for me, I want to de-loft this golf club probably like 10, 11 degrees. So I'm looking for something into the low 20s. If you're somebody that has a slower swing speed, I might be looking for more of like a 7 or 6 degrees of de-lofting. But I see a lot of numbers when I'm coaching golfers that are in the 30s on their 7-iron for impact loft there in our dynamic loft, which is just way too high. And that's because that club face is open. So we're going to do something here that is kind of against probably what you've always heard. And we need to feel in our downswing that our thumbs are pushing the club down to the ground. So you'll see as that happens, that allows me to turn my glove logo back towards the camera and point it down. And now my club face is in a much different position, right? So my delivery position looks different. Once I have the club face in a good spot, I have to lean the handle, I have to move pressure forwards, I have to rotate through. When I have that club face open, I have really one option to square it, and that's to stall out, stop rotating, release the head of the club and flip the hands. Boom, I've squared the club face, but I have way too much loft. I am flipping through. I'm going to struggle with contact because my low point is going to change every single swing. There's just a whole bunch of timing involved. And all we need to do is understand what we want to do different with our wrists. So instead of creating a lot of wrist hinge, I'd actually like you to feel in your backswing like you can create a good neutral lead wrist position, a cupped and on top trail wrist. So my right hand is going to feel more on top. And I want to keep those angles as I turn to the top. I don't need to create excess wrist cock because you can see as I do that, that lead wrist moves into a cupped state. If I create good wrist conditions in front of me and turn to the top, that's what the top of my backswing should look like. And then in the downswing, I can feel like those thumbs are pushing the shaft of the club down behind me. Therefore, I have the club face square and I have to rotate through. So when I create really good wrist conditions and I start to come down and then I stop, stall out, and flip, now my club face becomes really closed and I'm going to start hitting hooks and stuff like that. So over time, that's going to create a necessity for me to keep moving through and rotate through. The golf swing is all about habits and compensations and matchups. And an open club face is going to be matched up by stopping our rotation, stalling out, and flipping our hands. A square or even slightly closed club face is going to be matched up by shifting pressure forwards, turning through, keeping the handle ahead so that the club face becomes nice and square. So now what I'm going to do is hit a shot where I have the opposite feeling. I'm going to create really good wrist conditions going back. I'm going to work really hard to maintain those into the top. And I'm going to feel those thumbs pushing that club shaft down. And let's just see what changes with that face impact loft there and our face to target, as well as our spin axis. So good wrist conditions going back, maintenance to the top, pushing the thumbs down, maybe feeling a little bit more of a closing of the club face to support some good impact positions here. So we can see that's a completely different ball flight, right? It went much further, which without putting club speed numbers on here, and we can pull them up to check, doesn't tell us much, but let's see what the numbers say. So now I had a spin axis that was 8.8 to the left. So now instead of the axis tilted that way and having the ball curve off to the right, I had it tilted the opposite way. So the ball's going to peel out to the left. Well, now my face to target was actually 1.1 closed, which is significantly different. And my impact loft was 19.9. So for me, specifically on that shot, I overdid it, right? We can see it overdrew. I had the too little loft. My face was a little bit too closed, and my spin axis was too much to the left. But I created two completely different shots by managing my wrist conditions in a different manner. So I'm going to give you two drills that can help you to do this. And the first drill, as we've talked about in this video, is about getting the hands into better positions in the golf swing and then creating that feeling. So the first drill is going to simply to be to take a backswing where the club shaft moves to parallel only with our hands, creating good wrist conditions. So my right hand, my trail hand feels on top. My lead wrist is nice and flat or even a little bit kind of bowed coming down. And I'm just going to set that wrist position there. I'm going to take it to the top and keep it. And then I'm going to try to keep it as I push those thumbs down and swing through. And I'm always going to work in some rehearsals first. So set the hands, turn to the top, feel that motion coming down, swing through. So drill number one is to hit shots, progressing at speed, where you set those wrists, keep them, and hit a shot. And we can see on that one, I probably lost them a little bit coming down. So we see that ball tail a little bit more out to the right. We're going to see my loft number jump up a little bit. We're going to see my face probably open up a little bit again because I kind of lost that throughout the swing. So let's give that one another try and see if we can do a better job maintaining and managing those. So to the top, and then here we go. That was much better. I could feel that right away. So I did a lot better job keeping those consistent throughout the swing. We're going to see a lower loft number again, and we're going to see better axis tilt, or we're gonna see better face. So face is pretty square, only 2.6 open to the target. I like that delivered loft at 22. Okay. And the spin axis was just a little bit to the left. So that's more in line with what we want to do. Now, what I'm going to expect for most golfers as you go to make this change is you're going to create really good wrist conditions, but you've built that habit to stall out. So then you're going to start to hit some hooks, right? So you're going to have some shots that start to look a little bit like this. Create those good wrist conditions, and then we flip at impact. And I create that shot that hooks to the left on me, right? So we'll see there the axis tilt too much to the left. Okay. Not bad on my loft. All right. But my axis tilts way much to the left and my face was too closed. So then I need a drill to help me learn to keep the handle leaning forwards as I get into impact. All right. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to grab an alignment stick and we're going to place it under the trail arm. Now, the goal here is just to hit a shot. It's probably going to feel like a 3/4 shot with those really good wrist conditions, but not dropping this stick and having an abbreviated finish. Because when I start to come down, if I stall out and flip my hands, that right arm becomes disconnected. I drop that alignment stick, I flip the hands, and that club passes me really fast. If I keep that nice and tight as I come through, is then I have to get that lead hip out of the way. My right shoulder, my trail side has to move through into impact, and that will help me maintain those wrist conditions. So get really good at that first drill. And then once you do, if you find yourself hitting some hooks, add this drill to your repertoire, hitting some half and 3/4 shots, because if I were to take a full swing here to the top, that's kind of my 3/4, and to the top, I'm probably going to drop that going back because I don't necessarily need to feel that connected right at the top. Okay. But I need to feel it connected through impact. So some 3/4 shots with good wrist conditions. And I kind of pulled that one so my path is off, but we'll see that there wasn't as much curve to that. I still had a low dynamic loft on the shot, right? So the spin axis is 8 to the left, okay? Face did get a little bit closed on me, so let's try that one more time. And that's where slower speeds can really help us do that. That was a lot better. Kept that nice and tight moving through, nice straight shot. I had good wrist conditions. I had really low delivered loft. I had a really square club face on that one, and I kind of neutralized that axis tilt. So if you're a flipper, those are the kind of the two steps you need to go through to eliminate that flip. Stop trying to create so much wrist cock at the top and so much lag. Focus on good wrist conditions and a square club face, and then learn how to move through the golf ball to match up your better club face position instead of having something wide open. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like it below and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you.